Good morning. I want to call this quarterly meeting of the Texas University System Board of Regents back to session. For the record, Regent Austin's absent and we have a quorum present. The date is August the 4th, 2020, and the time is 9:34. Thank you, Dana. It was a really nice event last night. We appreciate everything. We look forward to working with our new president for Sam Houston, Alyssa, and I, it's totally appropriate that we're all here face to face. You notice I took mine off because first to say goodbye and hello to both you and Fernando, and then to celebrate this beautiful building and your accomplishment in putting that together for the system. Our next order of business this morning is a special video report from the Student Advisory Board. At this time, I'll ask Frank Parker, Vice President for Student Affairs at Sam Houston State University, to come to the podium to introduce the video. Mr. Parker.
Thank you, sir. One of the things that has happened since COVID and so forth is that the Student Advisory Board hadn't had a chance to meet with the regents, to talk to them, to give a report. So Dr. Hayek and I were talking, and we came up with this idea of maybe doing a video. One of the things at my age that seems amazing is we said, okay, you're going to do it with your cameras. And I found out from working with my staff that these cameras, once it's submitted, that it's fine to put them together, make it look pretty good, and so forth and so on. There may be one or two that didn't use a telephone camera. One of the takeaways that I hope you will see on the back end and analyzing what you see is that our students really want to be back on campus. They want to get their school going. I mean, it says and it tells me the impact as educators that we have on those students. So I know that all of you know this. I'm not going to continue, but at this time we just want to go ahead and play the video, and hope you get a chuckle or two, but these are students who are student leaders who wanted to do this video so that you can hear from them.
our classes to online. This takes away our in-class experience to interact with other students and bond with our professors. Planning for bigger disruptions. We, the students, are needed to be prepared for whatever might affect our education, whether it be we need to move off campus or find new ways to get our resources, whether it be getting groceries or school supplies in order to avoid physical contact with others. And then issuing warnings and guidelines. There are always new policies needed to be placed in order to combat coronavirus and keep everyone safe at the same time.
Hi y'all, my name is Catching Valentinus D, and I'm a senior here at Texas State University. I'm an urban geography and regional planning major, and I'm excited to be getting back to campus this fall. COVID turned everything on its head, and our students experienced the pandemic firsthand with the rest of the world. I believe that Texas State's roadmap to return has helped restless students understand how they'll be returning to a safe and manageable learning environment this fall. I'm excited to be working on a number of the programs that our university has put together in order to safeguard student engagement and student safety moving forward into a return to hybrid courses. Our student ambassador work group will be modeling to students the exact importance of wearing a mask and understanding it from a peer-to-peer perspective. Alongside a number of other programs, I'm excited to be partnering with the university to ensure that our students can continue their education and stay safe.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Howe, and I'm a member of the Student Government Association at Lamar Institute of Technology, pursuing my degree in dental hygiene. Our students have faced many hardships during this pandemic. Many students have reported difficulty keeping up with their new online classes while working and homeschooling their kids. Almost immediately, many students struggled with not having a laptop or reliable internet to complete their coursework. Others have lost employment during this pandemic, leaving them unsure about their futures. Even though this has been a time of many changes, we are ready to start fall classes and know that LIT is taking all necessary precautions to keep our students, faculty, and staff safe. On behalf of LIT's student body, I would like to thank the Regents, Chancellor McCall, President Howard, and LIT's faculty and staff for their continued support during this time.
Hello, my name is Molly Apsher. I'm a freshman at Lamar State College Orange, majoring in liberal arts. The coronavirus has affected our campus and students in the following manner. Our campus was saddened by the sudden loss of Professor Chris Tsus, who unfortunately passed away from COVID-19 complications, and many of our professors were overwhelmed by the sudden influx of online students. However, thanks to the wonderful staff at LSCO, students felt well informed on the rapidly changing environment on campus. Despite the difficult situation, professors and faculty contacted students frequently and worked hard to complete the semester strong. Amidst the trying times, Lamar Orange showed support through the formation of a call group to aid the well-being of their students. Callers ensured students had the supplies they needed and answered any questions. Lamar Orange also offered 2 free summer classes, which were available to anyone who enrolled. With these things and more, LSCO worked diligently to provide the best experience regardless of the most unusual circumstances brought on by coronavirus.
My name is Robert Hawkins. I'm a sophomore at Lamar State College, Port Arthur, majoring in instrumentation technology. COVID-19 has affected us by pushing us to an online format since early April. Everything from classes to student government association elections to advising were moved online or administered by telephone. We have been working through different phases to slowly reopen services on campus while still maintaining proper social distancing and safety procedures. We look forward to adapting and continuing to provide great services and education to our Seahawk family during these times.
Well, Regent Scott, I probably made a mistake. I said one of the takeaways might be that our students wanted to be on campus. It is very obvious that our students are here and ready to be back on campus because of all the things that we provide. thank you for the opportunity to present the video. Thank you, Dr. Hayek, and that's my report.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. I know we all miss having our breakfast with the students. It's always one of the highlights of our Board of Regents meetings, and this was a great idea, and we appreciate it. And please be sure all the students that participated hear from us that we appreciate their efforts, and it was a pleasure to see them. Regents, is there any other comments or discussion on the presentation by the students? Thank you again, Mr. Parker. The next order of business is the 2020 TSUS Progress Report and Video. Chancellor McCall, if you'd please give us your update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These past 5 or so months have in many ways been a period void of rich experiences, but they've been a period cram-packed with experience. Questioning the way we do things, how we do things, why we do things, and in many ways that has been profitable for the enterprise. We typically, pre-COVID, spent our time asking ourselves, are the students ready for us? For the past 5 months, we've been asking, are we ready for the students? And we are. I'm pleased to state that each of our components have worked independently and proactively for purposes that best serve their students, faculty, and staff for their individual institutions, and with good result. Regents, yesterday we passed out a synopsis of where each school is and where they are and what they're doing and how they're doing it. I'm so proud of the presidents and their staffs because they have had to make decisions with insufficient information, and they've had to be willing to, as T.S. Eliot said, there's time and a minute for decisions to be made and reversed. He said it better than that. But we have reversed decisions. We have thoroughly researched what the proper path is going forward, only to reverse it. Flexibility has been the key, but I am, and you should be, I think, proud of each of our components. Another point of pride is the 2020 plan that has been passed out, that each of our campuses have worked so hard to get us where we are, and the video can best parlay that.
As Texas has experienced dramatic growth and change over the past decade, so has the Texas State University system. In fact, since 2010, while the state's population increased 15%, enrollment at TSUS institutions grew nearly 20%. From 72,000 students in 2010 to nearly 86,000 students in 2019, making TSUS the 3rd largest system in Texas and 24th largest in the nation. And while the TSUS student body is larger today, it is also more diverse. Since 2010, the number of African American students across the system increased 43%, from 10,000 to more than 14,000. And the number of Hispanic students more than doubled, from 13,000 to more than 26,000. The system's student population is also more successful. Since 2010, the number of degrees and certificates awarded increased 40%, far outpacing enrollment growth. During this period, degrees awarded to African American students increased 107%, degrees awarded to Hispanic students increased 130%, and degrees awarded to low-income students nearly doubled. One of the largest areas of growth across TSUS is in online and distance education. Since 2010, the number of online degree programs and credit hours has nearly quadrupled, driven by significant gains at Lamar University and Sam Houston State University. Today, TSUS has the largest percentage of students of any university system in Texas taking courses online. The number of dual enrollment students, that is, students simultaneously enrolled in high school and college, is also up dramatically. Since 2010, the number of dual enrollment students at the system's two-year institutions, Lamar Institute of Technology, Lamar State College Orange, and Lamar State College Port Arthur, grew 237%. To better serve this growing student population, TSUS institutions have increased the number of faculty by 31% since 2010. During this period, the number of minority faculty increased 112%. TSUS institutions have also expanded their physical footprint, investing nearly $2 billion in capital projects, including $804 million from the state of Texas, to accommodate more students, faculty, and staff. TSUS institutions have a long history of engaging in applied research that addresses critical state needs, like the Borderlands Research Institute at Sul Ross State University. Today, that legacy is stronger than ever, as total research expenditures across the system since 2010 have increased 88%, from $41 million to $78 million, driven in large part by faculty researchers at Texas State University. Private funding is also up dramatically. Since 2010, alumni giving has increased from $28 million to $51 million, and the combined endowment across all institutions has grown 133%, from $209 million to $489 million. TSUS institutions have worked hard to control costs and make the best use of every dollar. Since 2010, the system's administrative cost as a percentage of its operating budget has decreased from 9.6% to 7.6%, ensuring more resources are available in areas that directly impact students. As the Texas State University system approaches its 110th anniversary, it is larger, more diverse, more successful, and more efficient because of the hard work and dedication of our 100,000 faculty, staff, and students.
Regents, even though the pace has been urgent, the burden heavy, and the hill steep, we won't rest now. We're at the side of the hill, not the top of it, and we've got a lot to be proud of and a lot to look forward to. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. McCall. The next order of business is Sam Houston State University's campus update. This year's update will be presented by Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dick Egglesayer.
Chairman Scott, members of the board, Chancellor McCall, to say the least, this has been a most unusual year. Although COVID-19 has thrown many challenges our way, I'm pleased to say that we were successful. On the academic side, our faculty have consistently risen to the challenge of serving our students in the midst of a pandemic. Mary Hopper from the College of Medicine delivered the keynote address at this year's American Physiological Society's National Conference. Brian Jordan appeared as a commentating historian in 2 episodes of the History Channel miniseries Grant. The College of Business Administration hosted a listen and learn panel discussion on key social issues facing our country. Aaron Brown and Michaela Carter guided theater students through a 48-hour play festival by mentoring students to collaboratively write, perform, and record short plays. The Department of a lapse of memory here. Back, okay. The Department of Forensic Science is working to develop a dichotomous test for suspected marijuana samples that will facilitate the resumption of marijuana prosecution statewide. Faculty and students are collaborating with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Southern District of Texas on a federally funded project to reduce violent gang and gun crime in Houston. We are also working with the Houston Police Department on a federally funded project to test the use of social network analysis to combat violent crime in Houston. In addition, we are working with the Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission on a research process to assess their needs for their statewide work combating human trafficking and exploitation. As featured in a recent issue of Inside Higher Ed, this fall the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology will launch a new minor in criminal justice, equity, and inclusion. We are strongly committed to the notion of community engagement. SHSU was certified in 2020 as a community engaged university by the Carnegie Foundation. Only 120 institutions nationwide and 5 in Texas received this designation in 2020. Community engagement seeks to partner college and university knowledge and resources with those of public and private sectors. One of the ways SHSU engages with the community is through academic community engagement classes. These ACE classes combine community engagement with academic instructions. Students work with community members applying their knowledge to real-world problems. In the past academic year, 174 SHSU faculty taught 529 ACE sections. SHSU is now being recognized by surrounding businesses, state agencies, and other universities as a hub and model of community engagement. Despite the interruptions created by COVID-19, our research productivity continued to rise. We've increased the number of grant proposals and external funding over the last 5 years. Last year, 49 of 120 submitted proposals were funded for about $26 million. The governor's office selected Matt Fuller to conduct a large needs assessment concerning student protection in response to the Santa Fe school shootings. We also received 2 competitive NIH grants, Diego Alvarez to study inflammation of lung tissues and Michael Griffin to study genetic factors affecting inflammation of tissues at the site of injury. We were also pleased to receive 2 NSF grants, Amber Ulsa to study effects of rainfall on stream ecosystem health, and Wasgrita to study changes to the 100-year floodplain for disaster planning. Finally, Sybil Buscelli and Aaron Lynn received an NIJ grant to study how changes in bacteria composition on a human corpse can be used as a post-mortem clock. In addition to these grants, the university has expanded collaborations and partnerships with private industry to develop a coronavirus detection protocol, cell phone network system to share real-time disaster data earthquake detection, a bioclassification system for sustainable energy production, testing services for the coronavirus antibody. Obviously, the COVID-19 crisis changed the way we operate. Our faculty did a wonderful job reaching out to our students and making changes to their courses. They made contact to assure their students they would be able to complete their semester successfully. They allowed over 500 students to take incomplete, giving them extra time to finish their work rather than dropping. We were fortunate that we were already instituted a plan for training our faculty in online teaching. The COVID crisis caused us to speed up the process. SH Online conducted 205 webinars and with about 1,850 participants. Faculty from Lamar Institute of Technology and Sul Ross State University also took advantage of these training opportunities. The office maintained a 24/7 help desk for both faculty and students. Based on their experience, our faculty reported that they've become more proficient with Blackboard and have discovered new internet resources they will continue to use when we return to face-to-face format. As one would imagine, the crisis hit many of our students hard. The majority of our students worked to put themselves through school. The crisis caused many to lose their employment. Our staff worked hard to help those in need with loaner laptops through SHSU IT Client Services. This was a great resource for the students who had no other means to complete their courses. We successfully established emergency funds using institutional emergency funds, $8.7 million in CARES monies, $1 million in summer CARES money, and $20,000 from a coordinated board grant. Based on our experience with past hurricanes relief, our committee allocated these funds on the basis of need. Students were asked to specify their needs in terms of technology, rent, food, academic assistance, and assorted miscellaneous. We provided 3 application periods for students to apply with an average disbursement of $1,000 per period. Approximately 12,000 students were eligible. To date, over 8,200 students have received $8 million in CARES funding. For those students not eligible for CARES funding, we awarded $828,000 to almost 600 students from the Bearcat Emergency Fund, bringing the total grants awarded to $8.8 million. We still have about $700,000 to use this fall to assist students in need. Despite these problems, our students were able to stay on task. Like most institutions in the state, we extended spring break by 1 week. We were fortunate that many of our faculty had already completed their online certificate in training for teaching online. Our Center for Teaching Excellence also mobilized to provide additional training to provide support to our faculty. As a result, student success indicators were encouraging. Our DF rates remained relatively stable. Although the Q-DARPs did increase over previous spring, this could be attributed by allowing students to drop through the final day of the semester. However, when coupled with the similar DF rates, the effect on the GPA was minimal. We surveyed 1,100 students to see how we were doing. Needs were identified, aid was allocated. Most students indicated they were pleased with the university's efforts during the remote training. 89% of the students reported being re-engaged. However, they have also stated, as we heard just a little while ago, that they yearn to be back on campus, see their professors, walk the halls, and enjoy the college experience. Finally, I would like to turn our attention to our medical school, a school that many thought was a pipe dream. However, today we are witness to its creation as we are seated in our new medical college. To get to this point, 2,100 students applied to Sam Houston. Over 1,200 submitted secondary applications. Approximately 600 were interviewed during the admission cycle. Last week, the first cohort of 75 medical students arrived for orientation. Last Monday, this past week, they started their actual work. The selected cohort is an exceptional group of young scholars. 97% are Texas residents, 47% of the cohort are female, over 50% of the cohort are minority, 49% are from our service area, and 16% are first-generation undergraduates. Our current class exceeds the national MCAT and GPA averages for matriculants at osteopathic medical colleges. We are also excited by the quality of the faculty the Dean Henley has assembled that include 11 MDs, 8 PhDs, 7 DOs, 3 MD PhDs, 1 PhD JD, and 1 pharmacist PhD. These faculty members include 4 NIH investigators and 1 NIH section member. These are only the data, however. A better sense of the current status of our medical school can be learned from the people that make up our school. Here are the voices of some of our students and faculty explaining why they chose Sam Houston State University.
So I chose SHSU-COM because of their mission statement. Their mission statement is to serve the underserved and rural communities, and I think that speaks a lot to me because as a kid, my mom would take members of our community who couldn't get surgeries done in Houston because of financial and immigration reasons, and she would take them to Galveston.
I chose SHSU College of Osteopathic Medicine for 3 reasons. One of them is just the personnel. SHSU in general is very welcoming, they're very family oriented, they love their students, they care about their faculty and staff.
Sam Houston State University College of Medicine made it easier for me just because of how enthusiastic and how passionate they were about the osteopathic approach.
I have a blue-collar background. Dad was a truck driver, Mom was a housewife. The rural and underserved and the health disparities that go with it just really hit home, I guess, because those are my people.
The mission did really speak to the type of physician that I hope to be. Being culturally aware and compassionate and practicing patient-centered medicine are top priorities of mine in the future when I practice medicine. And all throughout my interview day, The staff and faculty ensured me that they were determined to bring that mission to life. I loved the emphasis that was put on bringing primary care physicians to rural areas such as East Texas, because I have seen firsthand the impact that has on not having enough primary care doctors.
When I was 16, I wanted to become a physician. When I was 19, my mother started working for a DO that did manipulation. She brought home some articles, particularly one was about treating ear infections with a manual technique. I read that and I was hooked, and I wanted to be a DO ever since, and thankfully got into osteopathic medical school, and here I am.
So I've played sports my entire life, and I know there was a time I was playing soccer, it was a state championship game, and I broke my ankle, and there was a doctor right there telling me, hey, you're gonna be all right, this is how we're gonna get through this, I'm gonna have you ready to go play college soccer in about 5 months. And I wanna give my patients that exact same confidence that he gave to me, so that they can achieve their best health and not worry about a debilitating disease or an injury keeping them from living their lives.
The faculty and the staff that I met were just truly amazing. They're a special group of people who are the most collegial and collaborative bunch I've ever worked for or even seen. And everyone's mission focused, everyone is rowing in the same direction, and it really is extraordinary.
I never worked at a medical school where the biomedical sciences are integrated throughout all 4 years for our students. It's something that's very unique to this comm.
So we can be leaders in addition to being the inaugural class, because we lead how we want to see the College of Medicine to go forward, what values and ideals we all have as a class.
I love getting to build the culture, I love getting to build a team, pick out colors for the tables, order the models that you want, and this has really just been such a pleasure. We have an amazing team of solution-oriented people all through Sam Houston State.
Yeah, my wife and I have a family. We're from Texas, and I went to medical school close by in Houston, and we love the area. And to come back to Conroe and do what I love, it's been a blessing.
Obviously, this was Dr. Hoyt's dream. She worked tirelessly, and with your help, here we are today. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. They did look at other things, but one of the things was their commitment to work in rural areas, because that's our mission. That's where we started off with. We've been consistent throughout saying there's such a shortage in our rural communities that was a key factor. Academics had to be there, but that commitment was very important. And that's why we gave a little bit of extra benefit if they were from our catchment area. People are more likely to go back where they grew up than to if they came from a big urban area.
How does the current class stack up, grade point, MCAT scores nationally?
Again, their averages are higher than the national average for people entering DL schools.
Very good.
You know, so we've got, I think when we went through the white coat ceremony, I don't know, both of us sat on stage and we were just amazed at the quality of these students walking across. Now, I mean, looks are not everything. Thank goodness for me. You know, but you know, they just were just an impressive group. They've got the scores and they've got the dedication. That's what's so impressive.
Sounds like we have a well-qualified group in our medical school, which we're all proud of. As you know, I like stats, so what was my next question here? How many did you interview? How many applied? That kind of thing.
Okay, 2,100 applied. Now, mind you, that's interesting because of all the conflict we had with the coordinating board, we didn't get to start the application process until the last 2 months. You know, it started in May, and we started, what, September? Yeah. So we had a very short period of time. We had 2,100. 1,200 submitted secondary applications. They interviewed 600, and from those 600, we picked the 75.
Excellent.
And I don't have the exact number, but I know that other people selected, they've got choices. I think we had a very high rate of people choosing us if we selected them. I don't think we had 1 or 2 people that decided to go someplace else.
Now, how soon do the current medical students begin to see patients?
Oh, well, depends on the COVID crisis for a little bit. A lot of schools, they're not being allowed into the hospitals right now. But they'll be integrated throughout the whole 4 years, I believe. Dana, is that?
Well, there's two aspects of that. One is the fact that we're integrating biomed and clinical throughout the whole 4 years. But they probably won't truly see patients in clinical setting until their third year. They start rotations. And then, of course, when they graduate after 4 years, they go into their residencies, which they become acting doctors under supervision for 3 years. So it'll be 2 years before they see I think are integrated heavily into the clinical.
And we have enough residencies, internships for the current group?
Yeah, the rotations, they've got covered for the 75. The COCA makes us prove out that for 150, even though we're not even there yet. And so we're real close on the 150. I think we've got 140 rotations a year, 144 or something like that. Oh. So we're way overprescribed for our first class and really close to accomplishing what will be the full class the third year. So that will be necessary for the 150 that'll be fall 22.
Okay.
As to get these residencies, you have to go into the hospitals and talk to the people. And during this crisis, it's going to be next to impossible to get inside. So to get the number we have right now, given the handcuffs we have, I think we're going to be great. We'll be able to.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I had lunch with the Hallettsville CEO of the hospital, and Dr. Is it Winchester there? I think she's on a committee here. But anyway, they were very encouraged to know that the school's going to be up and running, and all the doctors in the pipeline. So.
Yeah, was one of our undergrads that went to medical school, Dr. Wilkinson, and she's started a very interesting program there where the rural communities have used 0.25% of their sales tax to help pay off debt to get physicians, primary care physicians, to come to the area and practice. And it's been very, very successful. And so she's talked about that at a lot of places in the state. But she's very active and was an undergrad alum with us. Went to, I think, medical school at Texas Tech, actually.
All right. I appreciate it. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Just for your information, though, too, they'll be starting within a month the recruitment process for next year.
Yep.
Okay. So, very good.
Any other questions for Dr. Eaglesayer? Thank you very much, Dick. The next order of business is the TSUS Foundation update. We want to ask Mike Winnemute, Executive Director of the Foundation, to come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Regents. The Board of Directors of the TSUS Foundation, including Regents Amato, Scott, and Tinsley and Chancellor McCall, met last Thursday, August 6th, and this report summarizes the business of that meeting. At the end of the first quarter, Foundation assets totaled $7 million, up from $6.8 million a year prior. 90% or $6.3 million of the Foundation's assets are in the undesignated account. This is the account from which all expenditures are paid, with the exception of the Foundation's 2 scholarship programs, now 3 scholarship programs as of last week: Grow Your Own, Kemple, and the Fernando Gomez Scholarship. The second quarter of the year helped us recover from losses that we experienced in the early part of 2020, as our total portfolio gained 10%. And the equity invested portion of this account gained 21% in the second quarter, making up for losses suffered in the first quarter. The board approved operating budget for fiscal year 21 is $714,000, significantly below the 2020 budget, as we paid off 2 commercial loans last fall. The board has approved up to $100,000 in grants under the new Diversity Enhancement Grant Program, which we will roll out in detail next month, and $75,000 across our 3 scholarship programs including the new Gomez Scholarship, which you learned about yesterday. Again, Chairman Scott, thank you for your generous gift, and thank you to Dr. Gomez as well. The Grow Your Own Scholarship Program has 3 active recipients as we wind down that program with a current obligation of $79,000. And finally, the board has selected winners of the 4 Regents Awards for 2020 based on recommendations from committees consisting of past winners from a cross-section of institutions. Recipients of the Regents Professor Award, the highest faculty honor in our system, are Dr. Jerry Cook, Professor of Biological Sciences at Sam Houston State University, Dr. Dwayne Knudsen, Professor of Health and Human Performance at Texas State University, and Dr. Patricia Shields, Professor of Political Science at Texas State University. And our 2020 Regents professors will be formally recognized at the November meeting. Regents teachers to be formally recognized at the February 2021 meeting are Dr. Ann Burnett, Associate Professor of Communication Studies, Dr. Celeste Domsch, Associate Professor of Communication Disorders, and Dr. Rachel Romero, Senior Lecturer in Sociology at Texas State University. Regents Staff Excellence Award recipient for 2020 is Dr. Emilio Carranco, Director of the Student Health Center at Texas State University, and he will be formally recognized at the February 2021 meeting. And finally, this year's Regent Student Scholar Award goes to Isabella Garcia, junior biology major at Sul Ross, and Tiffany Tran, a junior biology major at Lamar University. And we'll hear more about these outstanding students when they're formally recognized at the November meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions or comments?
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. The next order of business is the postponed business from yesterday. This is a personnel item from Texas State University requesting the following resolution be adopted in recognition and appreciation of the honor brought to Texas State University and the Texas State University system by Ann E. Burnett, Piper Professor for 2020. Dr. Trouth, would you please comment on this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I won't read the whole resolution, but I will say that we're very excited to share the fact that we have another Piper Professor. As you know, the Piper Foundation selects the best teachers from colleges and universities across the state of Texas, and Ann Burnett has been selected. As you saw, she's an associate professor in the Department of Communication Studies, and she has received numerous teaching awards over her career. I won't read all of them, but they are at the national level, at the state level, and at the university level. And of course, as you just heard, she's been named a Regents teacher. A lot of validation of a wonderful teacher. She couldn't be here today because of the COVID situation, but we really do want to congratulate Dr. Burnett.
Thank you. Regents, any questions or comments? If there are no questions or comments, do I hear a motion to adopt the resolution? Regent Edwards. Do I hear a second? Regent Crane. Is there any objection to this motion? Hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously. And Denise, can we ask you to convey our congratulations to Dr. Burnett on her achievements, and as well as the new accolade that
most assuredly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we want to take up a resolution honoring Student Regent Miss Katie McCall from the miscellaneous section of the agenda. You have before you a motion to recognize the outstanding service of our former Student Regent, Katie McCall. We will hopefully see Miss McCall in the November meeting. of the board and make another attempt to present this to her in person at Lamar University, where Katie's entering her senior year. Regents, do I hear a motion to adopt this resolution? Regent Amato. Is there a second? Regent Montaigne. Any discussion? I know there won't be any objections to this motion. Hearing no objections, the motion passes unanimously. Our next item of business is the approval of the consent agenda. These items are found at the end of each section in the board book. Are there any objections from the regents? Would any member like to remove any item from the consent agenda? If there are none, I move to adopt all items on the consent agenda. Is there a second? Regent Harrell. Any discussion? The motion passes. Having approved the minutes in the consent agenda, the next item under general motions is an informational item outlining the remaining 2020 board meeting dates. Laura, would you put that up? Our next quarterly meeting will be November the 19th and 20th at Lamar University in Beaumont. For Regents and any of you attending the grand opening of the medical school today, the ceremony will begin at 1 o'clock. If there is no objection, we'll now adjourn this meeting of the Board of Regents for the Texas State University system, and the time is 10:20. Thank you, everyone.
You